The sound of Judge Harold Sinclair's gavel crashing down reverberates through the courtroom, shaking the very air. Gasps ripple from the gallery as tension fills the space. Frank Thompson, the witness on the stand, hesitates before speaking, his voice trembling with the weight of truth. "I did it," he says, and the room freezes. A juror, Laura Simmons, grips the armrest so tightly that her knuckles turn white. A coffee cup tumbles from a hand, spilling its contents across the polished wood of the bench. The air is electric, thick with the realization that this trial is about to take a turn no one expected. Eyes flicker across the room, shock, fear, and disbelief on every face. It's clear, nothing will be the same after this moment. James Donovan's heart races, his pulse pounding in his ears. He can't shake the feeling that everything he's worked for is slipping away, inch by inch. The trial is no longer just about clearing his name, it's about survival. He looks at the faces in the courtroom, the jury, the witnesses, and the spectators, and wonders, who still believes in him? His mind races, each thought more desperate than the last. Every word he speaks feels like it could be his last, the thin thread of his hope unraveling with each passing moment. He must hold it together, but it's becoming harder and harder. The fear creeps in, not just for himself, but for everything he stands to lose. He's cornered, with nowhere to turn. The witness on the stand, Frank Thompson, begins speaking, but James Donovan's mind is elsewhere. The testimony is riddled with contradictions, and he can't help but feel that something isn't right. He knows the truth, but how can he expose the lies? The tension in his chest tightens. Every lie feels like a punch in the gut. He watches Frank Thompson, the emotions running high, anger, disbelief, fear, all blending together in a whirlwind of confusion. He must remain calm, but his hands shake and his thoughts race. How will he ever survive this trial? The clock is ticking, and every second feels like a countdown to disaster. James Donovan's mind races, torn between taking action and remaining silent. His thoughts are a blur, the weight of the trial suffocating him. He knows that any wrong move could end it all. The tension in his chest grows heavier with every passing second. He closes his eyes for a moment, breathing deeply, trying to clear his mind. But it's impossible. Every choice he makes feels like a gamble. The eyes of the courtroom are on him, waiting for him to speak, to react. But how can he? He knows that once the truth is out, nothing will ever be the same again. The courtroom door swings open, and a new witness, Emily Brooks, is called to the stand. James Donovan's heart skips a beat. This person's testimony could change everything. It could destroy him or set him free. He watches as Emily takes her seat, and for the first time in days, a spark of hope flickers within him. Could this be the turning point? Or is it another twist in the web of lies that entraps him? His mind races as she begins speaking, each word a potential threat or lifeline. The courtroom's atmosphere thickens with tension as the opposing counsel, Daniel Roberts, takes a more aggressive approach. His words slice through the room like a knife, each accusation sharper than the last. James Donovan feels the weight of every word. It's no longer just about the facts. This has turned into a personal attack. Daniel's tone is cutting, designed to tear James apart piece by piece. The defense is crumbling, but James remains stoic, even as doubt seeps into his mind. Every legal move Daniel makes feels like a calculated blow, and with each passing moment, James feels his grip on the case slip further away. It's a battle now, not of law, but of endurance. The longer this goes on, the harder it is to stay composed. As the prosecutor leans in for the kill, James' heart pounds louder in his chest. James can feel the pressure building within him, the tension tightening in his chest like a vice. He's been calm for too long, enduring the sharp barbs of Daniel Roberts' cross-examination. But now, it's too much. His voice breaks as he snaps, "Enough!" The entire room goes silent as his outburst echoes through the space. His heart races and his breathing becomes shallow. The sudden loss of control leaves him exposed, vulnerable in front of everyone. The audience watches, some with pity, others with suspicion. The jury's eyes flicker between James and Daniel, unsure of what to make of this outburst. James looks around, his gaze wild, as if searching for some sign of support. The weight of the trial, of his entire life, presses in from all sides. This isn't just a trial anymore. It's a battle for his very soul. The jury's reaction is mixed. Some look at James with sympathy, while others appear more skeptical. Among them, Bethany Harris, early 40s blonde, seems to be struggling with her own thoughts, her eyes flickering between James and Daniel. She bites her lip nervously, trying to process the chaos unfolding before her. James notices her reaction, and it sends a cold shiver down his spine. Has he lost her? Does she now believe he's guilty? The doubt creeps into his mind, gnawing at him like a persistent whisper. It's clear now. The trial is no longer just about the law. It's about perception. One wrong move could tip the scales, and James fears he's already made that mistake. His every word is now under scrutiny, his every action being watched. The stakes are higher than ever, and his future is teetering on the edge of a knife. A gasp ripples through the room as the defense reveals a shocking piece of evidence, a secretly recorded conversation between the witness, Frank Thompson, and Daniel Roberts. The room falls into stunned silence. The tape clearly shows Daniel coaching Frank on what to say in court. The implications are damning. James can hardly believe what he's hearing. Is this the break he's been waiting for, or is it another trap? Daniel's face pales as he tries to regain control of the room. But it's too late. The damage is done. Frank's credibility is now shattered. The jury's eyes shift from the witness to Daniel, their expressions now clouded with suspicion. James, though shaken, feels a flicker of hope. Could this be the turn he's been praying for? As the trial progresses, a trusted ally of James, his former lawyer, Michael Turner, is called to testify. James had always considered Michael a friend, but today, that friendship crumbles. Michael, with his cold, calculating demeanor, takes the stand. He begins to speak in a detached, almost rehearsed tone, offering testimony that contradicts everything James had expected. The betrayal stings, and James feels a sharp, bitter taste in his mouth. He had confided in Michael, trusted him with his life. Now, Michael's words hang in the air like daggers, each one further driving a wedge between James and his defense. As the audience watches, the weight of the betrayal becomes clear. James has lost more than just his case. He's lost someone he thought was his ally. The courtroom feels like it's closing in on James Donovan. The revelation from the previous day still echoes in his mind. The room is suffocating, and the weight of every new piece of evidence feels like a millstone around his neck. But then something shifts. As Daniel Roberts rises to speak, a slip of paper is handed to James. His pulse quickens as he glances at the note. A lead. It's a photograph of a document he thought was lost forever. The handwriting matches that of the deceased, his late father. This could be the break James has been waiting for. As the tension in the room rises, James feels a strange mix of dread and hope. The photograph on the note suggests that the truth could be far darker than he ever imagined. He can't afford to wait. He needs to act fast. As the trial continues, the room's tension becomes unbearable. James Donovan, still reeling from the photograph's contents, quietly examines the document. His hands tremble slightly, but his mind races faster than his heart. What does this mean for the case? His late father's handwriting connects him to the document. A will, perhaps, or evidence that could exonerate him. But is it authentic, or is this yet another trap? The courtroom falls silent as Daniel Roberts launches into a powerful closing argument, but James' focus is solely on the photo in his hand. This could be the moment that changes everything. But the fear gnaws at him. If this is exposed too soon, could it work against him? The clock is ticking, and he knows he can't wait much longer to reveal what he's found. With the discovery weighing heavily on him, James knows he can't sit idly by any longer. He makes a decision. He will reveal the photograph in court. But as he prepares to rise, the door to the courtroom swings open, and in steps someone unexpected, his estranged daughter, Claire, 19 blonde. She's been silent throughout the trial, but now her presence is an undeniable force. She walks toward the front, her gaze meeting his with a mixture of hope and uncertainty. James feels his heart stop for a moment. This is the last person he expected to see. Could her appearance be a sign? As she steps forward, Claire hands him a sealed envelope. Inside is a message that could change everything. This new revelation could either make or break him. The envelope from Claire contains a letter, one that will change the course of the trial. As James reads the words, his mind races. It's not just a message from his daughter, it's a confession from his wife, his late wife, who had mysteriously disappeared years ago. The confession is direct. She had known about the forged documents, and she had attempted to expose the truth before her disappearance. The letter details how the truth about the inheritance and his father's will had been manipulated. Claire's appearance is no coincidence. She's the key to unlocking this mystery, but the danger is clear. If he reveals this too soon, it could destroy everything. James feels the weight of his decisions heavier than ever. He's been given a lifeline, but the cost might be more than he can bear. James knows the time to act has come. He can no longer wait for the perfect moment. The truth must come out now. As the court session resumes, James rises to his feet, the letter clutched tightly in his hand. He can feel the weight of every eye in the room. "Your Honor," he begins, his voice steady but heavy with emotion. "I have new evidence that will change everything." The courtroom falls into an expectant silence. The jury watches intently, their expressions a mix of curiosity and skepticism. As James steps forward, he feels a surge of adrenaline. This is the moment that could define his fate. The air in the courtroom crackles with tension, and James knows that whatever happens next, there's no turning back. The tension in the courtroom is at its peak as James Donovan prepares for his final move. His voice trembles slightly as he begins his closing argument. This is not just a case about a will or a forged document. This is about the truth, about justice, and about the lies that have held my life in their grip for far too long. The jury watches, their eyes fixed on him as his words pierce the silence. James' heart pounds in his chest as he looks toward the judge, then to the jury, his gaze unwavering. "I stand here today not just to defend myself, but to expose the truth, no matter the cost." He feels the weight of every accusation, every doubt that has been cast upon him. But this is his chance to fight back. With one last breath, he delivers the final words that will determine his fate. "I ask you not to judge me for what I've done, but for the truth I've fought for." The room falls silent as the jury begins its deliberation. James sits at the defense table, his hands trembling slightly as he waits. He cannot bring himself to speak, every thought consumed by the weight of the trial's outcome. His eyes drift to Claire, who sits across from him, her gaze fixed on the floor. He feels the anxiety in the room like a physical presence, heavy and suffocating. His mind races, replaying the testimony, the evidence, and every decision he made that brought him to this moment. What if they don't believe me, he thinks. The thought of losing everything, of being branded a liar, chills him to his core. He knows he has told the truth, but the truth alone might not be enough. As the minutes tick by, every passing second feels like an eternity. James is jolted from his thoughts by the sound of the door opening. The jury has returned. His stomach clenches as he stands up, every muscle in his body tense with anticipation. The room holds its breath as the foreman, a man in his 50s with graying hair, steps forward. Will the jury find the defendant, James Donovan? Time seems to slow as the words hang in the air. His pulse quickens, and his mind races, knowing this is the moment that will decide everything. The eyes of the entire courtroom are on him as the foreman continues, his voice clear and deliberate. "Guilty." The word hits James like a physical blow. His knees almost give out as the reality sinks in. His future, his freedom, his life, all of it is now in jeopardy. A cold sweat breaks out across his brow as he tries to steady himself. James stands frozen, unable to move as the courtroom erupts into chaos. His ears ring, and his thoughts become a blur. He feels Claire's hand on his arm, but it feels distant, as though he's underwater. The reality of the verdict crashes down on him, and for a moment, all he can hear is the pounding of his heart. He had fought so hard to expose the truth, but it feels as though the truth has been lost in the chaos of the courtroom. His mind races with thoughts of how this happened, what went wrong. How could the jury not see the lies? How could they not believe him? The weight of defeat presses down on him. As the bailiff moves toward him, James feels the cold steel of the handcuffs being placed around his wrists. His future has just been decided, and it's not the one he hoped for. As the handcuffs click shut, James feels a surge of anger. He has been wronged, and now he's being punished for the very thing he fought to expose. He's dragged from the courtroom, the echo of the gavel still ringing in his ears. The world outside the courtroom feels distant, as though he's being pulled into a nightmare he can't wake up from. "I won't stop," he mutters to himself, though the words sound hollow in the empty space. His future is uncertain, but one thing is clear: he's not going to let the truth die here. The battle may be lost, but the war is far from over. As he's led down the hallway, the weight of the handcuffs a constant reminder of his current situation, James vows that this isn't the end. He will find a way to expose the truth, no matter the cost. The cold weight of defeat presses down on James as he walks out of the courthouse. The guilty verdict still echoes in his mind, but one thing keeps him moving forward: the lingering sense that justice has not been fully served. His body aches with exhaustion, but his mind is sharper than ever. Claire stands beside him, her face pale but strong. "We can't give up," she says quietly, her words steady, even though her eyes betray the fear that clouds her thoughts. James turns to her, a faint but determined smile on his face. "This is not the end," he replies, though his voice carries the weight of uncertainty. Their world has been shattered, but together, they know the fight isn't over. They are walking away from the courtroom, but not from the truth. The next few days blur into one. James and Claire work together, searching for answers, piecing together the fragments of evidence that have been hidden from the public eye. James feels the walls closing in, but he knows he can't stop now. The photographs, the documents, the conversations he's uncovered, they all point to something bigger than he ever imagined. But it's dangerous. Every step closer to the truth is a step deeper into the abyss. The people who want to keep him silenced are watching. "We're running out of time," Claire says, her voice tight with anxiety. James looks at her, a grim expression crossing his face. "Time's not the issue. We've got to stay ahead of them," he says, his voice low, filled with resolve. He knows what's at stake now. Everything. As the pieces start to fit together, James and Claire make a breakthrough. They find an encrypted file hidden within a larger document, a key piece of evidence that could bring everything to light. Claire's hands tremble as she cracks the code, the seconds ticking by with agonizing slowness. When the file finally opens, they find a shocking revelation. A name they didn't expect. Someone within their own family had orchestrated the entire cover-up. The room seems to spin as James absorbs the full weight of the betrayal. "It can't be," he whispers. But it's there, staring them in the face. A final betrayal from someone who should have been on their side. The truth is no longer something they're searching for. It's something they must confront head-on. James knows that revealing the truth will be a dangerous gamble. The people behind the cover-up have too much power, and exposing them will put both him and Claire at risk. But he can't back down. "This is bigger than us," he says, his voice thick with emotion. Claire looks at him, her face conflicted. "What if we're not ready for this?" she asks. James takes a deep breath, the weight of the decision pressing heavily on him. "If we don't do this now, it'll never stop," he replies. The room is heavy with the gravity of their conversation, each word carrying the weight of their futures. He knows that once they go public, there's no turning back. But it's the only way to clear his name and expose the real criminals. And he will fight until the very end. The day of the press conference arrives. James stands before a room full of reporters, the weight of the world on his shoulders. His palms are sweaty, and his heart pounds in his chest. Claire stands beside him, her presence a silent support. As the cameras flash, James takes a deep breath, ready to speak the truth. "What I'm about to reveal will change everything," he begins, his voice steady despite the storm raging inside him. He tells the world about the cover-up, about the lies that have kept him in the dark for so long. The room falls silent as the truth unfolds. Every word is a weight lifted from his chest. For the first time, he feels like the truth is finally his to control. And as the reporters begin to ask questions, James knows that his fight for justice has only just begun. James Donovan, bruised but unbroken, prepares for the next battle. His mind races, his body exhausted, but the fire inside him burns brighter than ever. He knows the real fight is just beginning. His enemies are powerful, and the stakes have never been higher. The world is watching, waiting for him to fall. But James stands firm, his resolve hardening. Every secret exposed brings him closer to the truth, and he won't stop now. "This isn't over," he says, his voice low, filled with conviction. A meeting is set with a key witness who might be able to provide the final piece of the puzzle. James knows that trusting this person could be dangerous, but he has no other choice. Claire stands by him, her anxiety palpable. "Are you sure about this?" she asks, her voice shaky. James glances at her, his resolve firm. "I don't have a choice. It's the only way." As the clock ticks down, the weight of their decision presses down on them. Every moment counts, and they can't afford to make a mistake. In the dimly lit room, the witness begins to speak. Their words are hesitant, their eyes darting nervously. "I've seen the documents. They're real," they whisper. James listens intently, his heart pounding in his chest. This is the moment he's been waiting for, but the witness' fear is palpable. "If I help you, they'll come after me," the witness warns. James knows the risks, but there's no turning back now. "We need the truth, no matter the cost," he replies, his voice steady, though his mind is racing. The information the witness has given James sets everything into motion. The pieces of the puzzle are finally aligning, but the danger has never been closer. As James and Claire walk back to their car, they're followed. A black car trails them through the quiet streets. James feels the hairs on the back of his neck rise, but he doesn't show it. "We need to move fast," he says, his voice urgent. Claire glances over at him, her face pale. "What do we do now?" she asks. "We finish this," James replies, his determination unshaken. James and Claire make it to a safe house, their hearts still racing. They've made it this far, but they know the real battle is just beginning. The truth is within reach, but so is their enemy. As they sit in the dimly lit room, James knows that revealing everything means risking it all. "We'll do it tomorrow," James says, his voice steady. Claire nods, though her face betrays her fear. "Are you sure?" she asks. James looks at her, his eyes hard with determination. "There's no other way." James Donovan stands at the courthouse steps, the weight of everything pressing down on him. He's won the battle, but the war isn't over. The truth has been exposed, but it has come at a cost. Claire stands beside him, her eyes filled with a mixture of relief and concern. "We did it," she whispers. James nods, though his face is unreadable. "For now," he replies. The world feels different, but the uncertainty of what lies ahead is still heavy in the air. James knows they can't rest yet, not when there's so much left to uncover. Back in the safe house, James reflects on everything they've been through. The truth has come to light, but it feels like the consequences are just beginning. The legal battle is over, but the people behind the cover-up are still out there watching. Claire's voice breaks through his thoughts. "What now, James?" He meets her gaze, the uncertainty of their future clear in his eyes. "Now we rebuild," he replies quietly. The fight for justice is far from over, and James knows that the road ahead is full of challenges, but they have no choice but to keep moving forward. As the days pass, James begins to process everything. The world has changed around him, but the people responsible for his suffering are still out there. A new sense of purpose fills him. And with it comes a realization. The truth will come for them too, he tells Claire one evening. They won't be able to hide forever. Claire nods, her expression resolute but tinged with fear. James stands by the window looking out at the city, knowing that although the legal battle is over, a new one is just beginning. And this time, it's personal. Final pieces of the puzzle fall into place. James and Claire begin to uncover more, connecting the dots between the people behind the conspiracy. James knows he can't let this go. The stakes are too high now. "We'll finish this," he says, his voice firm. Claire looks at him, her fear giving way to determination. "Together," she says softly. They know the risks, but they're ready for whatever comes next. The fight for the truth has taken everything from them, but they're not backing down. They've come too far to stop now. The final confrontation is near. The truth is almost within their grasp, but James knows that exposing everything will not be easy. There are powerful forces at play, and they won't go down without a fight. "It's time," James says, his voice calm but filled with purpose. Claire stands beside him, her hand resting on his arm. They've come so far and there's no turning back now. Together, they'll face whatever comes next, determined to bring the guilty to justice. The journey has been long, but they're ready to finish what they started.